We're going to recall to order our regular meeting and start with a roll call, please. Here. Present.
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 First up, we have public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card prior to the start of the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and criticism of individuals is not in order. Please, are there any public comments? No. Okay. Board correspondence. Are there any board correspondence or committee reports?
I visited Huntley Middle School, Lincoln, and the high school in the last couple of days, or within the last week. I also met, which was a great experience. Thank you for all the teachers that opened their doors to welcome me into their space. The students that I interacted, amazing experience of leadership there as well that guided me through the buildings and allowed me to roam around there with them. It was awesome to hear all the initiatives and everything that is going on at the different buildings. Just to hear the positive things, and really I was there to just kind of engage and see how I can better support the different schools and the leaders. So it was an awesome experience to be there. Shout out to the high school as well. I attended the 8th grade night last week. I think it was last week. Great experience as well, very thorough. So I was excited for that. And then I also met with Chance regarding a potential Youth Speak Out event that Chance is interested in hosting at the DeKalb High School. So I will be working with them as well in regarding setting up the event, and of course working with leadership at the high school to ensure that it is a success. So looking at a potential date of later in the February, like I believe the last Monday of February. So we will be working with Dr. Larson on some details, and then hopefully promote it out so that we can get more feedback from the students on how we can better improve their experiences here at the district. So we're excited about that.
Any other report outs?
A couple of weeks ago, I just remembered something. A couple weeks ago, Daisy and I had met with Ms. Parker to talk about the student advisory board, and Chance was there too. I think that was a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the time is kind of running together, but so excited about that. I didn't know Chance is not here today, so if no one else has a report, I can give Chance's report. But I'll also okay. So they did have an initial meeting with the mini board a few weeks ago. We still have to check in so I can see how that went, but they were very excited about that and things are coming along, so it's really exciting.
Oh, I also attended the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee meeting. Ms. Parker brought in some awesome speakers to provide some feedback on some initiatives on how we can collaborate in partnership with them regarding like historical stuff and how to incorporate some of those things or some of those initiatives into the district and possible collaboration with our students. So it was awesome. So thank you, Ms. Parker, for doing that as well.
Okay. Moving on to D, recognition. Mr. Peter Goff, NIAAA, and we would just like to recognize that the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association has announced that NIAAA has recognized Peter Goff as a certified athletic administrator. To earn, yes, we can clap. To earn this distinction, Peter Goff has demonstrated the highest level of knowledge and expertise in the field of interscholastic athletic administration. The voluntary certification process included a thorough evaluation of the candidate's educational background, experience, and professional contributions, and a rigorous, comprehensive written examination. Peter Goff is one of the elite group of interscholastic athletic administrators nationwide to attain this level of professionalism. That's really great. Next up is the consent agenda, and it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items A through D as attached. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Thank you. Next, under old business, subject A is, district request to bid build-out projects. This is information and action. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve administration to go out to bid for the build-out projects at Cortland HMF, Huntley Middle School, Early Learning and Development Center, Clinton Rosette Middle School, and Malta. Tammy, you wanna give an update from our last time we met?
I just wanted to come forth. There have been some changes to the original request that was put forth. I don't know, can I stand over here? Originally, if you recall, the last meeting, there were questions that were brought forth from the Fine Arts Department at Huntley Middle School, and conversations did take place between administration and the staff. And some other ideas were brought forth, it has changed under the Huntley recommendation. Originally, it was involving band room flooring and renovation to the old concession stand that's in there. And some other options have been brought forth that would actually, we would be looking to potentially enlarge the choir room into some space that could be relocated potentially, and also is an open area that is not being used. And then renovating another section just outside of the orchestra room next to the choir room. Those two items have been replaced on this list and has been discussed with the fine arts staff in the building last week. So at this point, we're just looking for approval to go out to bid, get some pricing. It will be designed in a way we'll have options to be able to approve and deny certain ones. It won't be an all or nothing package brought forth at the time that the bids are received.
And when you say it's been discussed with the fine arts staff, how does the fine arts staff feel about this proposal? Does this satisfy their concerns, or?
Well, no, I will say,
I
no
guess-
one loves to have their space disrupted. We'll start there. But what has been brought forth in comparison to what was being brought forth with the band, speaking with the choir director who is most significantly impacted by this change, the recommendations that have been brought forth on where his classroom potentially could be or the choir classroom would be, they are doable. They are going to be bringing back to me prior to the bid results some things that express their needs of what they would need if they did relocate the choir room in regard to whether it's storage, what tech needs are there, what would need to be considered, so that when I bring forth the bid results, it'll have the costs involved that potentially are also included should that portion of the project be approved.
And do these renovations, I guess, does this in any way disrupt the music program at Huntley Middle School? Does it negatively impact it? And these renovations are geared towards making space to accommodate students for lunch, right? Is that what we're...
Correct. We'll provide another space so that the students are not, half of the lunches are not put into the auditorium and held there, while the other half of the same grade level is eating lunch. It gives a difference so that the entire group can be eating at the same time, and we're not utilizing the seating in the auditorium to hold them, basically. Your first question of disrupting
Does it disrupt
the program,
the program in any way?
based on the conversations and where these potentially could be, the changes could be made if this is made, if these renovations are done, it will not disrupt any standpoint of numbers. To say now we can have less students in those programs. Is it disruptive? I don't know that I personally can speak on that, because I'm sure the music teachers as well as myself may have different opinions. That's why I have asked them, because again, this doesn't commit us to anything. I have asked them to make sure they bring all concerns, and the administration at Huntley has asked, what do they need to make this work if this program was, or this class was relocated from the current location to, what we're looking at is the choir classroom would actually move to the stage of the auditorium, and we would make that their classroom space.
Okay. And that's workable? I mean, that's
The choir teacher was in those meetings, and he expressed that it is something he could work with and understands that because of the needs of the building, that you have to kind of do
Sure.
some things that you wouldn't necessarily choose to do.
Sure.
But he felt he could make that work. He's still needs to give me that list, and he knows until, I said by the end of March, because I won't bring bid results to you till at least April. And then we'll know what the full costs are. And if at that time, we will take another look at it and say, you know what, this isn't gonna work. So then we won't recommend that this build out be done. It'll give us some time to see where their needs lie and what needs to be done to make sure we're able to provide that program in the classroom to the level it needs to be to continue with the fine arts like we have, just in a different setting. If it's determined at that point it is not an appropriate move, then I won't bring this forth as a request to approve.
Well, I mean, I definitely appreciate the fact that there was communication amongst the administration and staff, and I think that's super important. Absolutely. I'm sure you agree. Just to make sure that, we're making the best decisions we can to serve kids and make sure that staff are able to do what they need to do. And I mean, our music program is so valuable.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions before we move? Thank you, Tammy, for explaining that. So it is recommended that the Board of Education approve administration to go out to bid for the build-out projects at Cortland, Huntley Middle School, Early Learning and Development Center, Clinton Rosette Middle School, and Malta. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Subject B is DeKalb High School new course materials proposal for advanced placement human geography. And this was brought to us by Sarah Montgomery, as well as, I believe, the teacher leading that program. And so it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the new course curriculum materials. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 And then subject D, staffing request, part-time 4-hour floater cook. And this was brought to us by Cindy Carpenter, Amir Doka, and Mike Chamness. And it is recommended, oh, sorry, thank you, C, right? Thank you very much. Subject C first is DCTA program course approved salary schedule credit and PRC minutes. And this is an action item that was brought to us by Deetra Salas. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the Professional Relations Committee minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Okay, subject D now. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Staffing request for our part-time 4-hour floater cook, and this is an action item that was brought to us by Cindy Carpenter, Amir Doka, and Mike Chamness. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the labor grade change for a floater cook from 1 to 2 and the hiring of an additional 4-hour cook. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 On to new business. Subject A, DHS Upward Bound and Trio Spring Break Out of State Trip. And this is information from Donna Larson.
Tammy, so sorry. I'm standing in for Dr. Wilson, and she was here at the time. There are 3 spring trips that are being proposed through the Upward Bound Trio. And one is overnight, where they're going to see a series of colleges with 10 students, and then one is a day trip. And then there's a second day trip as well with another small group of students. It's a great program that will continue, that was very strong pre-COVID, so now continuing to build back to make sure that our students have supports and exposures to different colleges and universities.
Any questions? And there's time for us to bring it back for action. Okay. There were no questions? No? Do we have consensus to bring this back?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. Subject B is the Emergency Extension Non-Competitive Procurement Food Service Contract Extension Request for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 This is information with Cindy Carpenter and Armir Doka. It is.
So this is similar to what we did in the prior year with our food service contract. Technically, we would be required to go through the full bid process, but ISB is giving districts the ability to again go to this emergency non-competitive procurement contract. Oh my God, that was tough to say. For another year due to inflation and how difficult it is to really be out to bid and then be locked into a price that may be too high because of the current conditions. They realize that, so they're giving those extensions again this year. So we're requesting to do that. They've already given us our approval to do that, so just requesting with the board to continue that process and to work with Airmark to look at that renewal. And then we would definitely need to go out to full bid for the 24-25 school year. So yeah, because this would be for 23-24 school year where we extend the contract another year and then go out to bid for when we go to the 24-25 school year.
What are the pros and cons of extending it versus going to bid now?
Well, the pros is that right now, because the market is so unstable, that it's really difficult to try and go out to bid and get a 5-year contract, like a 5-year commitment to what that price per meal price would be. And the fear is that that would be inflated because of what's going on with inflation right now. And right now, inflation is starting to flatten out a little bit and go down. So we'd probably be in a better position in the next year to go out to bid because we wouldn't be looking at such higher price now. Kind of the jumping off point would be higher than what we would want it to be. So that would be the pro. The con would be that, is it time to, would we get a lower price? I don't know. I mean, honestly, most districts that I've talked to are going through this process and doing this because they don't want to have to, get locked into a higher price than they need to be at this point. But honestly, in my opinion, I feel there's more pros than to kind of a lot of cons at this point. And then staying with our current vendor, which we've been very happy with, Airmark, they've worked with us really well. Now that we're on the community eligibility provision program, our meal participation has gone up pretty substantially, and continuing to serve the breakfast and lunch, and everybody having that great meal. So it's switching vendors is very difficult to solve in the process. So stay with the same vendor with preferential.
Any other questions? I just want to throw it out there since we're talking about food. My daughter did ask me if I could please request for slushy Fridays to come back and frozen strawberries.
I think Mike is listening.
So slushies and frozen strawberries. Apparently
that in
something
there?
they had previously that they haven't seen in a while.
Okay, and it could be a supply issue too, you never
Yes.
know.
So I just,
Slushy Friday. Frozen strawberries.
yes.
All right, I've got it on my menu.
I don't know if anyone else has any other requests that have made it to them, but
Strawberry milk, I know that was a good one.
yeah, that was a big
Oh,
one
yes.
that came up.
These are about Easter time, they do that.
Do we have consent to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Subject C is fiscal.
Oh, well, he does all the work.
Fiscal year 2021-2022 audit and annual comprehensive financial report, and this is information and action, and we have Mr. Andy Mace tonight and Cindy Carpenter.
So, this is Andy Mace, he's a partner, senior partner, I believe, over at Whitley, and our lead auditor, so he's here to go through our audit report, give some highlights, and go for it.
Yeah, well, thanks. And this will be my last time. Like Cindy, I'll be retiring May 31st.
Congratulations.
So I've really enjoyed my time working with the Cal 428, and I've had several stints out here. So it's always nice working with you. I appreciate organizations, school districts that have that good organizational attitude towards internal controls and sound financial practices. And I have found that to be true here, very much so over all the years I've audited here. So I guess I did the management letter first. So that's real positive. We didn't have any findings, as usual, as per usual, because they do a great job. And you have people with the right positions and you take it seriously. So That's always great.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. So this is your annual comprehensive financial report, and what makes it that is it includes the introductory section and the statistical section, not just the financial section. And this report has been presented to ASO International and GFOA for 12 years, I think, and has been an award winner all those years. And I would expect this one to continue in that fashion. There's only about 50 school districts in Illinois that go through to the extra effort of preparing the comprehensive report. It does demonstrate absolutely the best practice in financial reporting for local governments and school districts. So kudos to the finance team and you all for going to the effort of doing that. And, you know, I mentioned that introductory section. This is by far, we do a lot of these. This is by far the best introductory section of any district that we do. There's a lot of great information in there.
Good job.
And that's written by the administration, not by us, so that's good stuff. The audit report, the financial section is what we're responsible for. That's what we give an opinion on. And the opinion, I don't know if you noticed or not, but the wording changed a little bit this year, but it means the same thing. It's a clean audit opinion. It's the financial statements are presented in conformity with generally accepted accounting standards, and there are no exceptions there. After that, then is the management's discussion and analysis on pages 5 to 14. And if you didn't read any further than this 137-page document, read the first few paragraphs there, and you'll have a good understanding of what happened financially during the year. After that, then, pages 16 and 17 are the entity-wide statements. And this is like a consolidation of all the funds together, and then it includes the long-term assets and liabilities. We don't like to spend a lot of time there because you live in the fund world, and the funds are presented beginning on pages 18 to 21. And the key takeaway there, which isn't a surprise to y'all, because I know you're giving good financial information, is that you had pretty good surplus in the general fund this year. Now, for you, the general fund consists of the ed, O&M, working cash, and tort funds, yeah. So those 4 funds make up your general fund, and your working cash fund had about $4.5 million of fund balance at the end of the year, and your ed fund had about $51 million. So you did have a surplus this year primarily because your revenues went up, you know, and your expenditures weren't as high as they could have been. But as this crazy COVID time shakes out, I would expect that to return to normalcy. Yeah. After that, then, are the notes to the financial statements, and here we discuss significant accounting policies, property tax cycle, that sort of thing. There's a note on your cash and investments, and the makeup of all those on pages 31 and 32. Key takeaway there is that all of your deposits with financial institutions are covered by FDIC or excess collateral, so you're very safe and prudent there. 34 is a summary of fixed asset transactions during the year. 35 is a summary of your debt transactions during the year. You continue to pay down your debt, $5.4 billion on page 35, ending with about $85 million there. And then there's the debt service schedules, etc., that are included. Page 37, there's a new accounting standard that we needed to implement this year related to leases, whereas before, if you had an operating lease that we didn't consider to be a capital lease, it didn't have to appear as debt. Now, virtually every type of lease transaction, both as lessee and lessor, needs to be shown as a form of debt or an asset. After that, then, are the retirement pension fund footnotes. Page 40 shows the net unfunded pension liability related to TRS The district share of that is about $3.7 million. The state share is $307 million. And I think I've mentioned that to you all before. If you extrapolate that across the whole state, you see how truly enormous the unfunded pension liability is in the state. Conversely, on page 47 for IMRF, you tax what you need for that. There's a contribution rate that's actuarially determined, and it takes care of itself. The district contributes, as do the employees, and you actually have a net pension asset at the end of the year. So I'm sure that in fiscal 23, we saw your contribution rates fall some, and I expect that again probably next year as well. After that, on page 50 is a footnote related to the Teachers Health Insurance Security Fund, THIS, and that's the gap insurance for the certified employees. The district share of that liability is about $35.6 billion. The state share is $48.3 billion. Total liability there is close to $84 million. Again, extrapolating that across the state, those are really big numbers. And I think I've said this before. You know, we hear sometimes about the state pushing the pensions back in the districts. Well, to me, this one is more riskier because you're contributing 1.24%, I think, of the certified salaries. If the state wanted to push back, I think this would be a likely candidate. I haven't heard any grumblings about that, but just looking at it myself, that would seem like a candidate. You do have another other post-employment benefit plan for the non-certified employees, and you treat that as a pay-as-you-go plan, so you're not funding it. So it naturally will have an unfunded net OPEB liability. That was about $13 million shown on page 56. Page 59 shows the transfers that occurred during the year. You moved money from the Ed Fund, O&M Fund, and Working Cash Funds to your debt service funds to help service the debt and lower the impact on the taxpayer. So that shows there. And then on page 60, it talks about the tax abatements as well. And then finally on page 60, there's a little bit of a restatement that we had to change last year's beginning. Net assets number as a result of the 1987 releases. Beyond that, then, there's 10 or 12 pages of historical data, what we call required supplementary information related to the pensions and OPEB plans. You want to see what your fundings look like over time. That's where you'll find that. Then pages 73 to 100 are your individual combining funds and schedules that show comparisons to budget and prior year actual amounts. So you can see how you did on a line-by-line item there for both budget and the prior year. Then we finish the report with the statistical section, and here there's primarily 10-year historical data related to financial trends, revenue capacity, debt capacity, demographic and economic information, and other operating information. So that's it for your comprehensive report. I talked about operations already. They're doing a great job. That's about it. You got any questions for me? There's a lot real fast, I know, but
No questions? Okay, then we are going to, or it is recommended that the Board of Education accept the audit and annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
And thank you, Business Office. Alright. Subject.
Hey, Sam,
Yes.
Cindy, we are grateful for you. You're a gem in our district, truly. Like, the work that you've done is incredible and remarkable, really. And to the business office, but you've been.
Thank you. Subject D is staffing requests, Malta Tyler PE 0.7, FTE increase to 1.0 FTE increase, and this is informational, and we have Billy Wermo and Deidre Salas.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just gonna stand here because it's gonna be pretty quick. Unfortunately, I had to follow Cindy and all that. But I'm actually not gonna be able to. Are you sure? I got a pretty loud voice. I mean, you can use your inside voice. Okay. You can't hear me, Sebastian? No. All
You're
right.
a gentleman.
So, thank you. So we came back in November and asked for additional FTE for Malta PE teacher to be able to help with an overload because our intensive students are intermixed with our monolingual students, our gen ed population within PE. So now we have the same issue, not an issue, I guess we're problem solving through it, where we need an additional FTE to be able to cover 5th grade intensive. We're doing 5th grade, I think now it's 4th grade intensive that we would cover. That PE teacher that would turn her into a 0.8, but she's helping us with interventions as well. So we want to request from a 0.7 to a 1.0 for our PE teacher. Any questions?
Consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Subject E is recycle and disposal of surplus technology equipment, and this is information. Ben Bale.
Hey, so we have some equipment that's end of life, end of support, and it's time for it to be recycled. So this is kind of like just the annual, it's time to recycle the equipment. So this is equipment where we can't resell it. Our licensing doesn't transfer even if it was to be auctioned. And most of it has been in the hands of students for over 5 years and is no longer supported by whatever platforms we need to work with. So it's kind of the long and the short of it. So we work through a company called PCs for People. They're out of the Chicago area, and actually we're supported by the governor's office. So they try to take some of these devices and cobble them together and then give them to families that are in need. But then the pieces and parts that aren't usable get recycled. So
Keeps them out of a landfill.
out of the landfill. Yeah.
Any questions for Ben? Thank
Cool.
you.
Thanks,
Oh,
everybody.
consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
Subject F is the FADASP MOU Article 14. Thank you. I was remembering my Roman numerals. 14 retirement, and this is information. Deidre Salas.
Good evening. So the attached is clarification of the FADASP contract. As individuals have been reviewing the contract and looking to make decisions about retirement, a number of questions have come up. In the language, it mentions health insurance, and we want to clarify that that includes both medical, dental, and vision, not just one of the three. Additionally, as individuals are looking to retire, it's not always on the cycle of the school year. So for those that are looking to retire outside of the end of the fiscal year, they had questions about reimbursement for insurance that the contract already allows, but how that timing would work. So we clarified that in this document that individuals that retire, they have 30 days to notify the district that they are or will not be accepting the insurance. And for those that don't, the district pays them a stipend amount, and that is paid within 30 days of the notification. So again, this is purely clarification of the language that already exists in the contract.
Any questions? Consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Subject G, handle with care MOU. This is information. Kyle Gertis.
Alright, good evening. In partnership with the DeKalb City Police Department as well as the DeKalb County Sheriff's Department and our state's attorney, I'm before you tonight to talk a little bit about a exciting opportunity that we have to implement a framework called Handle with Care within our district. Handle with Care basically is a framework that was established in West Virginia, in a sense been spread out and kind of implemented across 33 states, including Illinois. And basically what it is it's an opportunity for us as a school district to be more trauma-informed, trauma-sensitive, and for our students. So the kind of framework basically is our first responders, in this case starting off with our local law enforcement as well as county law enforcement, would partner with us and an organization called Lifting Up LLC, which is kind of the, I would say the glue that holds it together. What would happen is if a law enforcement responds to a call that is indicating that there's a potential trauma to a student who is attending our school district, there would be a communication that would be automated that would travel through kind of that Lifting Up LLC, would connect to our district system to basically notify us that there is a situation that occurred with a student, and it allows us as a school and as a district to handle that situation with care, and handle with care. So the idea behind it is we would be notified that a student, law enforcement was responding to something that happened to a student. We wouldn't necessarily get the details of what happened, but just that there was an incident, and that allows us to be able to either proactively check in with that student that morning, or just have an awareness that something occurred the night before. So should something come up throughout a school day, and I always go to the worst example, right? But a student who's uncharacteristically off, and irritable, maybe gets into a conflict with a teacher or staff, it allows us to then say, okay, there's something more going on here. We should look into this. We should have a conversation with the student to see if there's more supports we can put in place. So the idea behind it is to be very proactive, but also to give us some context around when incidents do occur, to understand the impact that trauma or an experience that happened in the community may be influencing that. And so this is an opportunity for us to kind of be a little bit more proactive than maybe we have in the past. We certainly have a lot of communication that goes through a lot of different people, whether it's our SRO, our police department. I'm a McKinney Vento liaison, so I get notified in various ways when a family has been displaced. And to nobody's fault, sometimes the process of that communication can take some time. I'll use my own example for families that are displaced, whether they're evicted, there's a fire, they had to leave because of a domestic incident. Sometimes we don't find out about that until a couple of days later when somebody reaches out to us. This would allow us to have a little bit more information sooner, so we could be a little more proactive in seeking those things out. With that said, there is a cost to this service. It is $13,406, I think.
It's there.
Yep. This has been, we have intended all year to get this off the ground, so I have budgeted for this within my own the money that's needed from the program. And it is something that we would evaluate over the course of the year and determine if it's effective for us. And with that, I'll open up for any questions.
So is this a yearly cost?
Yes.
Okay.
It sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, we're really fortunate and blessed that honestly our state's attorney reached out to us, set up a meeting, and said, hey, I'd like to connect you with Lifting Up LLC, as well as we have the support of our local law enforcement, and so it's really I'm excited. It's going to be a great partnership, and moving forward, it's possible we could expand this to other first responders, like the fire department and things like that.
That's great.
Any other questions? Consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Kyle.
That's Kyle.
Oh, you're
Kyle,
subject,
okay.
subject H, lifetime bonds, MOU, Kyle Gertis, information.
Another really exciting opportunity to provide an opportunity for some of our students at the high school level who are identified as at risk. Earlier this school year, Dr. Kerry Birchfield, who's professor of sociology at NIU, reached out to us at the encouragement of our DeKalb County Mental Health Board to see if we would be interested in embarking on this free opportunity called Lifetime Bonds. And basically what this is it started in the city of Chicago, and it's expanded a little bit more to King County and now a little bit further west to us. It identifies 10 at-risk youth. For us, we're going to focus in on our high school. For students that could benefit from some additional SEL direct instruction, but also just an opportunity to build on their empathy and caring, and they do it through a really unique SEL curriculum that's partnered with, for us, it would be TAILS here locally. So the students would actually go and work on some, I don't want to get in the weeds with the curriculum, but basically they're in charge of kind of training a dog. So they have to learn skills to be able to use for the dogs at tails to help them train. And so 8 to 10 at-risk youth at DeKalb High School will be given this opportunity. We will have a district staff member kind of partnering with the Lifetime Bond staff member, so it'll be a little bit of a collaboration, but we're using their SEL curriculum that they've created. There's no direct cost to this, however, we will be providing transportation using one of the high school's activity buses once a week for the 8 to 10 week period of time. So the cost is minimal, and it's kind of already wrapped into something you don't have to go out and find.
Is this a rolling program? Like once the first 10 weeks are done, then a new 8 to 10 students identified get to do it, and like do they continue it throughout the year? Does that, or is it one time?
It does make sense. I'll be
Okay.
honest with you, I think at this point in time, by the time we get it going, we're probably looking at one
The end of
rotation
the
for
year.
this year. However, I think that's a good time for us to evaluate how can we either continue this over next school year or potentially even expand it.
Yeah.
I think ideally we would have a rotation going every 10 weeks with different students so we can maximize it, but I'm not sure the capacity of our partners in this one.
That was great.
How is at-risk student being defined in this context?
Good question. So we have identified and to kind of be our initial group, some students that have already been identified as needing additional SEL support and direct kind of instruction in that area.
Okay.
So we've already kind of done the screening process, and we are looking at one of our special programs at the high school to have the first opportunity for this. Part of that is also the teacher who expressed interest in taking this on as kind of an extra thing to make it happen.
Any other questions? No? Consensus to bring this back for action?
Yes.
Yes. And then subject I, Sunbelt Staffing Speech and Language Teleservice Agreement, and this is for information and action, and it's brought to us by Kyle Britt.
So exciting, just in a very different way. So if you remember back in, I believe it was October, in the fall, I came forward saying we're looking at an increase in speech and language needs across the district. So we're going to recruit 2 additional FTE. We've been unable to fill it up to this point. We've had a few interviews through contracting agencies, and the first couple didn't work out. However, we worked by Sunbelt Staffing with a candidate that is actually through another group called VocaVision that provides teletherapy services. It's something that we've utilized in the district in the past, and we've been short for speech pathologists. Not necessarily since I've started, but prior kind of to the pandemic. We'll never replace the value of having somebody in our buildings working directly with our kids. However, this has proven to be a good service delivery model for a subset of students. So in working with our speech and language pathologists, we're going to identify a caseload for this individual who can start serving some of the minutes, which will then lighten a little bit of the load for our current SLPs and allow us to kind of reallocate where they're supporting. So it's kind of a domino effect. We are still going to hopefully fill the other opening that we have, and this will go a long way to helping us get by until we can get there. The overall cost of the contract is $98.75 per hour, costed out over the remaining of this school year. So the end of May, the contract will expire for a cost of around $55,300. Any questions?
So you're wanting to reallocate one of the FTE that we approved basically to cover this, like it almost covers this cost, or is that kind of what you're saying? You'd still keep one open looking?
Yeah, there would still be
Okay.
one open, and we wouldn't really reallocate this. We're just filling it with a contracted
Okay.
individual instead of unfortunately, our own staff who would apply and be hired.
If you were able to hire for some odd reason at this point in the year and it was a good fit, are you able to get out of the contract?
For this particular contract, no, we would be obligated for the rest of the year. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but the reality is it's very difficult to find speech and language pathologists in any time of the year. but especially during the school year. And so I do, you know, the hiring season is right about now, and so we're putting forth all the effort we can to fill the openings we know we're going to need for next year. I think very unlikely that we would have candidates jump in at this point in the year.
Okay.
But we would still have the other position if we did find something,
We would. Yep.
so that would even us out.
And the reason I'm bringing this forward isn't phone action, it's just the urgency to get somebody in, get them onboarded, and start delivering services to students.
Any other questions? It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the service agreement with Sunbelt Staffing LLC, who will contract with Voco Vision for the provisions of telepractice services. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Number 8, superintendent updates, and we have subject A, the presentation on communication procedures and guidelines and district branding.
Thank you. Prior to turning this over to Rita Elliott, I'd like to just make a couple of announcements. One, this is Counselors Week, so, you know, reach out to your counselors in your buildings across the district, thank them for their work and, you know, and their due diligence. We did tweet that out and share it with everybody, just making sure that we all know that. So thank you for your work. The second thing is that we want to congratulate Consolidated DeKalb and Sycamore Girls Gymnastics, who won the sectionals, and they're off to state, so that's great. Make sure that if you get a chance to reach out to them and thank them, you know, and congratulate them, as well as wish them luck on the next round. So we hope to see them bring home a medal, a state medal. So good luck, ladies. And looking forward to see you, you know, bring something back. Now I'd like to actually turn it over to Rita to have an overview of some updates we've made to some practices in relation to communications and social media.
Yes, good evening. I think we attached it earlier, Jackie was able to get it out to you, the sort of procedures and guidelines. It's meant to be for social media and our actions on social media. It's meant to be a companion piece to our existing policies and procedures for 5.125 and 6.125. So it's not meant to usurp those in any way, but really to go along with them to help us in how we think about managing content. This is really about content. So, you know, the social media can be the wild, wild west sometimes. There's a lot going on. I think I'm finding in my experience, as I said, I spent about 15 years in higher ed. K through 12 is a completely different animal when it comes to how people interact on social media. Much more parent involvement, obviously. A lot of private groups that are out there that are finding ways to consolidate and air their grievances. Those are all going to happen. That's really difficult for us to manage as a district because, again, they're within private groups and things that we can't see or shouldn't necessarily see. But as a district, how do we look at that as an overarching policy? What is our personality on our social media? How do we interact? And what's the purpose of our account? So this seeks to kind of address those specific issues and give some guidance to all of our various content managers, because we also have several content managers throughout the district. So I want to give them some guidance, set up just a few guidelines, some rules of engagement, kind of what our roadmap looks like. Because right now, folks, we do ask that they check in with IT and now myself before they start a page. But we've got, I'm losing count of how many errant pages are out there. Folks will start a page and then, you know, things change and they walk away from it. So we want to make sure that what we have is being managed properly. Again, that's the point of this policy and guideline. So that's it in a nutshell of 7 pages of it.
Just branding.
Any questions?
Are there questions or anything that you want Rita to highlight? Okay. All right. And then you want a brief branding update? Okay. We're also, we've contracted with OC Creative, a local agency here in town, to kind of help us look at what do we look like as a district, who are we, how do we represent ourselves. When you think about social media, the website, business cards, letterhead, all of those things, we do not have a consistent presence right now.
I've come across no less than probably 14 different iterations of a logo, including that one that's on the front of the So we've got D's and we've got shields and we've got crows and we've got combinations of shields and D's and crows and we've got lots of things
And
going
barbed
on.
wire.
Barbed wire, exactly. So really, if you take a look at just about any district around us or the state, the country, there is again, an overarching kind of identity, a visual identity of the district. So that's what we're working on. It's exciting and fun. We'll have some more concepts here soon. We're kind of working our way through that initial process and asking OC Creative to help us with that, knowing what we are as a district, knowing what our mission and core values are, how do we incorporate that into a visual identity. So we're excited about that. So once we get it and we'll share it all and get some consensus and get that up and running, then again, we can plug it into lots of places. It does not replace our athletic logo or athletic D. That is very much a barb, and that's what we are, and we're not changing that. But again, as a district, we are looking to have kind of our own overarching identity. Sounds good.
Great job with the
done.
website, working great job with the social media presence. You
thank
could really see a difference in how we are promoting ourselves, and I mean it's a huge difference.
Good. I'm glad
Even
you
just
like it.
navigating the website, you can
Little
see.
by little.
Yeah,
We're chunking through that as well. So
yeah. So great job with that,
Thank
with the media
And
presence.
it's really fun to see all the different pictures that go
It
along
is.
there.
Yeah.
yeah,
I love it.
cool.
Any questions for Rita? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Okay, with that, we're going to adjourn our open session and go back to closed session. So I guess adjourn to closed session. It is recommended that the Board of Education adjourn to closed session to discuss collective negotiation matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes.